Hello and welcome inside Regency Furniture Stadium for the first Blue Crabs broadcast of the 2019 season. We're going to kick it off with a spring training game. Thanks for joining us, although a little bit late. You're joining us in the bottom of the first inning as Charlie Valerio, a brand new Blue Crab, is up in the box, a switch-hitting catcher. Pretty rare, but he comes on in the left-handed batter's box, finds himself in an 0-2 hole with two down here in the bottom of the first. Blue Crabs taking on the High Point Rockers. Rockers in their first season as a franchise. And they're going to see Charlie Valerio strike out, swinging. We're going to keep it here throughout the commercial break to catch you up on what you've missed up to this point in the ball game. And a little bit of an off-season catch-up. First off, my name's Andrew Bandstra. I'm going to be your play-by-play announcer for this 2019 Blue Crab season. It's an exciting season. A lot of new changes going on here in Southern Maryland. A lot of new Blue Crabs to grace the field here at Regency Furniture Stadium. And a lot of new fans, hopefully, on our way. Happy to have you joining us here on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. Once again, my name is Andrew Bandstra. On the bump for the Blue Crabs, Pat Dean had a nice, solid first inning. He 2 years ago was in the MLB, so he's doing pretty well here in Southern Maryland. Interestingly enough, Dean's got a real good story. I'll keep that on the back burner for now. I'll tell you about his first inning of work. In the first inning, he shut down all three Rockers that he took on. If you've never heard of the High Point Rockers, well, there's probably a good reason. The Rockers took place of the Road Warriors, who were just a one-year placement team. The Rockers, the new franchise in the Atlantic League outside of the Sugarland Skeeters. The Rockers are the southernmost team in the Atlantic League. They're based out of High Point, North Carolina, in that triad in North Carolina. So the Rockers, that's a name that is derived from a furniture-crazy city. It's been a furniture frenzy of a town in High Point for years and years to come. Back dating hundreds of years back, it's been what some would call the furniture capital of the world. So it only makes sense that they're the Rockers, which would mean a rocking chair, or you could also say that they rock. I think that'd be the other part of it. But anyways, the Blue Crabs are pretty good themselves. Let's set the field for you here for Southern Maryland. A couple of names are going to sound familiar. A couple of them will sound new. Hopefully not too long before they all sound like a normal Blue Crab day. Leading off and playing second base, Angelise Nina. Batting second, a brand new Blue Crab. In center field, Ryan Canary. Batting third, Charlie Valerio. Behind the dish, catching, designated hitter Craig Maddox hits fourth with John Griffin at first base following him. Tony Thomas bats sixth, playing left field. Matt Dean plays third base, bats seventh. Josh McAdams plays right field, bats eighth. And Kent Blackstone, shortstop, batting ninth as Pat Dean gets his first pitch of the second inning across. It's going to get in for a strike. Strike number one. Now, I told you Pat Dean has a really, really interesting story. As the lefty kicks and delivers, it's going to miss just a little bit upstairs, says the home plate umpire. But before we get you to Dean, maybe talk a little bit about the home plate umpire's role in the Atlantic League this year, considering the fact that, as you very well may have heard, as strike gets past the batter, as you very, very may well have heard, the Atlantic League is switching over to an electronic umpire this season. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be a home plate umpire still. He'll still be there, but rather there's what's called a TrackMan system above the press box, as a ball will miss outside, 2-1 the count. There's a TrackMan system above the press box, and that is what is telling you whether it's a ball or a strike. So a little bit different this year, and that's a partnership with the MLB, actually, that we're doing, as strike three is called. Send it around the horn, and Pat Dean's off to a good start. Good job for Dean to this point, as we are in the top of the second inning here in Southern Maryland. The score 0-0. This is the second half of a Blue Crabs doubleheader today. They won the first game 8-2. That was their first spring training win of the year to this point. Dean out of the windup. He's going to catch the upstairs just a little bit. Check swing, but nothing to go around. As we get you an aim on the High point rocker that's at the plate as Dean rocks back. He fires, and this one's going to be smoked on the ground. Garcia's got to run up to get it, throws it across his body. Not Garcia, Blackstone, as he throws it across the infield for out number 2. Folks, I told you it's going to take all of us a little bit of time to get used to this, a couple new Blue Crabs. Now, Edwin Garcia is still here. He just played earlier. Getting used to a couple new Blue Crabs, and I'm on the same train with you. And that's Kent Blackstone out at shortstop. Blackstone, a DMV area native. He attended George Mason, and he went to high school up in Northern Virginia. Strike one crosses here in the top of the second inning. And stepping in to the batter's box is yet another high point rocker that comes up trying to take on Pat Dean, who has seen 5 batters come up, 5 go down. He throws a nasty changeup and swinging right over it is that rocker at the plate. Now here comes Dean back out of the windup. Just barely got a bat on it. Did the batter, number 24. And now Dean, who pitched in Korea these past 2 seasons. Get you a little bit more of that story as the game goes on. He's got at least one more inning left in him, probably not more than that here in spring training as another ball's fouled back. 0-2 still the count. As Dean, the left-hander, the southpaw, looks into his sign from a brand new catcher. He's never had a part in that battery before. Here comes Dean, another pitch, slapped foul. Dean does a good job of just pounding the strike zone, not allowing hitters to really take a breath. He steps right back up on the mound and comes back in. Dean played for the Kia Tigers these past 2 seasons over in the Korean Baseball League. He won a league championship 2 years ago. It was a pivotal part of that run as a nasty curveball is going to get swung right through Dean. 3 up and 3 down, make it 6 up, 6 down in the ballgame. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. Welcome back inside Regency Furniture Stadium for the bottom of the second inning of baseball here in Southern Maryland. First broadcast of the season. Thanks for joining in here on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. First batter of the bottom of the second inning is going to be Craig Maddox. Maddox, the hitting coach on this team for the Blue Crabs. His second year in Southern Maryland, 3rd overall, 2nd in a row, I should say. As you're going to see Ball make that strike number 1 going to come in. You see a pretty drastic shift coming against Craig Maddox, and that may come as a little bit of a surprise as not being a little more drastic, as this one's going to tiptoe the foul line, stays within the chalk, and it's going to be out number 1. Craig Maddox dribbles one over to first. Anyways, I was saying you may be surprised that that shortstop isn't playing a little bit more shifted, and that would be one of those another MLB rule changes that happens in coordination with the Atlantic League's partnership with the MLB. Two infielders need to be on either side of second base, so no huge shifts you're going to see, but still stopping Maddox from getting one through. He's been hot this point in spring training. A lot of Blue Crabs waiting to get the bats going until today. Maddox was really one of the only shining stars, and basically everybody got their bats going in the top end of this doubleheader as the Blue Crabs hit about 4 home runs. John Griffin might have one of his own. All the left fielder could do is look up, and it bounces off the clubhouse. John Griffin picks up where he left off last season. He only played 70 games, and he hit at least 11 home runs. And right as I was saying, John Griffin picks up on it. You know, folks, a lot of times you hear about the broadcaster's jinx. A lot of times that works against the team that you're rooting for. This time it works for the team that I was rooting for, and obviously that's the Blue Crabs. The Blue Crabs hit 3 home runs in the top end of the doubleheader today. Josh McAdams hit one, Corey Vaughn hit one, and Tony Thomas hit one. And just as I'm talking about Tony Thomas, he steps into the batter's box. Thomas takes up high for ball number 1. Thomas knows a thing or two about hitting home runs. Last year, he played for the Sugar Land Skeeters at the end of the year. Only 6 games in the regular season before starting every single game in the postseason, as he'll take strike number 1 outside, and the Blue Crabs are on the board. A 1-1 count to Tony Thomas. So Thomas, I'll get the story right after this pitch as he'll take inside. So Thomas joins the Sugar Land Skeeters. End of the season, starts every game in the whole entire postseason. And no other way to really have a crazy moment in the playoffs other than a walk-off home run to send the team out of a tied series in Game 5 into the League Championship Series, a series that the Skeeters would win. I was talking to Thomas the other day as we see a 2-2 count. I was talking to Thomas the other day. He said he had 3 walk-offs last season, walk-off hits in general, 3 walk-off hits last season, 2 the season before, and he doesn't even know how many he's had in his whole life. He said in his whole life he knows he has at least 5 or 6 walk-off home runs. So this is a guy that knows a thing or two about hitting the ball far and doing it with some clutch. Full count to Tony Thomas, wears number 23, and this one's going to be foul-tipped. Hits off the catcher's glove, but gets outside of the glove and will remain at a full count. Pitch number 7 on its way in this at-bat. Resetting the arms, trying to get a little bit more room in that jersey is the pitcher. As Thomas grips the bat, stands in the right-handed batter's box. Here comes the rock, the fire, and Thomas leans over, swings at one, and he watches it swing around the horn as he'll be rung up on strikes. He was swinging that time, and that's 2 down in the inning for the Blue Crabs. But even if they don't get any runs in this inning, the Blue Crabs will take it considering they're on the board first. This was a Blue Crabs team, like I said, that was really struggling to hit the ball early in spring training, but I think that makes sense. I think that's to be expected. Pitching is expected to be dominated early in a season, especially when you haven't seen live pitching in a long time. So can't really put it that at the fault of any of the hitters, but now the Blue Crabs are getting it going. You already see 4 home runs in a matter of what would now be 11 innings today. The pitch is going to catch the outside corner. 0-2 goes the count. To the hitter, Matt Dean. Matt Dean in his first year with the Blue Crabs. Coming over from the Chicago Dogs of the American Association. As we see an 0-2 count ensue to Matt Dean. A couple of Blue Crabs came over from the Chicago Dogs. The Chicago Dogs were in their first season ever as a franchise last year. And now in the Blue Crabs' 12th season, they get a couple of Chicago Dogs as the ball will miss outside. 1-2 the count to the third baseman, Matt Dean. He plays third. He also plays first. Played first in the front end of today's doubleheader. He's at third for the second half. As he'll get rung up looking. That's a strikeout. And that's 2 in this half inning for the Blue Crabs, but it doesn't matter too much as they'll see One run go up, and that's all that matters on John Griffin's bat as you see him coming back out of the dugout. A solo shot to left field puts the Blue Crabs on top. Pat Dean back out to keep pitching when we return on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. Welcome back inside the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network and inside Regency Furniture Stadium. If it's your first time joining us, thank you for coming in, and it's definitely your first time of the 2019 season. Speaking of new things for the 2019 season, Pat Dean, a new coming starter into the Blue Crabs rotation as a strike's going to cross. He throws a lot of strikes. He really pounds the strike zone, comes after hitters. He already has 6 strikeouts in as many innings coming into this game. Dean's got his sign from Valerio. Here it comes, and it's going to skid in the dirt. We're going to see a 1-1 count. Taking a long time before he steps back in that box. Now here comes Dean. He gives the yes nod to his catcher, Valerio, and coming home with the pitch. It's going to miss just a little bit upstairs. We're going to head in the count is the hitter, 2-1 the count. So getting you a little bit more on Pat Dean. Dean pitched in the Korean Baseball League these past 2 seasons. This ball's fouled straight back up towards the press box. So Pat Dean in 2016 pitched in the MLB for the Minnesota Twins. 2017 and 18 he pitched for the Kia Tigers of the Korean Baseball League. He pitched so well that he led them to a league championship series as this ball's foul tipped in the dirt. Count will go to 2-2, excuse me. And Dean ended up meeting the South Korean president through that opportunity. He made a good chunk of change too, much more than a minor leaguer makes in America. Dean out of the windup. Here he comes home with the pitch, and that will catch the outside corner, catch the batter looking. 5th strikeout of the day. Make that 4th strikeout of the day for Pat Dean as he's cooking here early. Here we are in the top of the 3rd. Southern Maryland Blue Crabs facing off against the High Point Rockers. Rockers' first time ever coming here to Regency Furniture Stadium. First time these 2 teams have ever met. Brand new franchise in the Atlantic League are the High Point Rockers. As Dean comes home with the pitch, it'll catch the outside corner. You don't see him throwing too many balls. The most balls he's thrown in a bat was the last at bat, which was 2. Here comes Dean out of the windup, coming right after the batter again. A nice curveball is going to break outside, and it's going to catch the inside corner. Dean perches himself back up on the mound as the batters can only fearlessly look in at this point as another curveball is going to get another strikeout. How about that from Charlie Valerio, who, just like many people, is still in early season form as he gives a big old smile. He thought it was 3 outs and he started running back towards the dugout. I can't say I haven't been a victim of that in my life as well, but when you're the catcher, it's a little bit more obvious. So he gave a big old smile. You could see his white pearly teeth shining from up here in the press box. The fact of the matter is there is only 2 down, but Pat Dean's got 5 strikeouts in in just his third inning of work, as guess what? He comes back with another one. 0-1 the count. Dean, the southpaw, started his professional career in the Minnesota Twins organization as this pitch swung on and missed. Now, you see a lot of guys that are pretty good at making it so people don't even touch the ball. Pat Dean is easily in the upper echelon of that category. Nearly everything he throws is either foul-tipped or swung through or not swung at. Pat Dean strikes out the side. How about this? He faces 9 batters, strikes out 6 of them. Have a day, Pat Dean. That'll do it for him and this half inning. We'll head into the bottom of the third with the Blue Crabs coming up to the plate, trying to add on to their already 1-0 lead when we return on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. Welcome back into Waldorf, Maryland, and Regency Furniture Stadium. You know what that means? You're home of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. A new Blue Crab stepping up to the plate in the form of Josh McAdams. McAdams in his first season as a Southern Maryland Blue Crab. And he's going to poke this one over to the right side. Nice play by the first baseman to steal a hit away from McAdams. But McAdams has already had his glory today. He sent a moonshot to left field. It bounced off the clubhouse. You can see the red roof out in left field. It was an absolute moonshot off the bat of him. So he's had his glory today. That's just the way baseball works. You get one for yourself, and things are going to find their way back to the equilibrium. Kent Blackstone steps into the batting box, a left-handed hitting, right-handed throwing shortstop out of Northern Virginia. First pitch misses high and outside. Interesting story about Kent Blackstone. Blackstone, obviously hailing from Northern Virginia, as you see, pretty decent shift going against him. 2-0 goes the count. As Blackstone, who wears number 6 on the back of his jersey. You won't see that today. As today, just wearing the warm-ups of the Blue Crabs. 3-0 goes the count to Blackstone. Blackstone from Ashburn, Virginia. He attended New Mexico State University before transferring to George Mason back in his hometown to finish out his collegiate career. As the count goes to 3-1. He was the first all-metropolitan area player from his high school in 20 seasons. That named by the Washington Post as ball 4 crosses. That's going to be a brand new at-bat for the Blue Crabs and a man on. Kent Blackstone's got some sweet feet over there at first, and Angelise Nina digs into the box. Nina joined about 25 games into the season last year. He was acquired from the New Britain Bees. He was struggling a little bit with the New Britain Bees. He was hitting about 111, and he traded over to the Blue Crabs. Didn't quite know what to expect, and I think we were all happily surprised with what we ended up seeing from Nina. He ended up in the top 10 in batting average in all of the Atlantic League. He had the best batting average of any Blue Crab last season, hitting around 330. He could do nothing but get on base. And sometimes, folks, a change of scenery is all you need, as 0-2 goes the count to Nina. He's picked it up right where he left off last year, as he's been hitting nothing but missiles off of his bat. Blue Crabs in their 5th spring training game. Mentioned earlier, they won the first of the season. They did tie in one of them. It's a spring training game, so you don't go as Welcome back inside Regency Furniture Stadium, the home of the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. Thank you for joining in to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. As a new Blue Crab is on the mound, his first time ever in a Southern Maryland uniform here in spring training, as Miguel Nunez graces the bump. First pitch is going to miss a little bit outside, 1-0 the count. Nunez, a late addition to the Blue Crabs roster. He hasn't played professional baseball since 17, as this pitch swung through, 1-1 the count. But Nunez clearly still has it. Played professional baseball from 2010 to 2017. He began in the Phillies organization before playing in Venezuela in the 2017-18 season, as this ball has a zip on it and tails a little bit outside. The two-seamer is swung on through, 1-2 the count. As Nunez has a 1-2 count. Nunez, a native of La Ramona, Dominican Republic. 26 years old, 26 and a half to be certain, as a 6'6", 215 righty is going to tumble one down, and it's going to be fouled off. 1-2 remains the count. If you have any questions about any of the changes that are happening in Southern Maryland this season, which I can see why you would with the new partnership with the MLB, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here in Southern Maryland, and the MLB has a goal of making the game of baseball faster as this ball's popped out of play. Count remains 1-2. The MLB wants to make baseball a faster game. They want to make it more appealing to a younger audience. So they're trying some things in the Atlantic League, such as the electronic strike zone, such as the original plan of putting the mound back 2 feet, which is going to be pushed back a year. That's going to start in the second half of the 2020 season. As the ball's going to miss outside, the count 2-2. It's crazy to say 2020, folks. It's crazy to think we're almost there. 2020 sounds like the future, the real future, if you ask me. But nonetheless, Miguel Nunez sees a 2-2 count. Comes set at the belt. The leg kick, the fire home, and this one's sky high into left field. Giving trace on it is Tony Thomas, and he's going to watch it into the glove. A one-handed catch. Retires out number 1 as the Blue Crabs are up big time here. 3-0 here in the top of the 4th inning. First 2 times these teams have ever met before, being the Blue Crabs and the High Point Rockers, as the Rockers, an expansion team to the Atlantic League. As Miguel Nunez, you see his big poofy hair getting out of the back of his hat. That's one of his trademarks. As this ball's drilled into right field, giving chase is the right fielder Canary, and he's not going to quite get there. He gets it on a hop, though, and will limit the batter to a single. So a base knock puts one on. That's the first base hit of the day for the High Point Rockers. Pat Dean, the final line on him. He goes 3 strong, allows no hits, no runs, no errors, 0 walks. But there was one number that stood out, and that was 6 strikeouts in 3 innings. Pat Dean, the left-handed pitcher with a lot of zip on it. Nunez, first pitch to the next batter, is going to miss a little bit upstairs. And that's not the start Nunez was looking for back in his first professional outing in a couple of years. He gets up 0-2 on the batter and then ends up losing him after a pair of balls, as this one is going to go out of play. The count 1-1. Nunez is going to tip the hat, and he's going to get ready for the next pitch. Nunez comes set at the belt. Checked over to the runner at first, and now coming home with it. This ball had some real zip on it, and it's going to be swung right through. The count 1-2. I was hanging up signs the other day in the outfield. You can see them out there. Thank you for telling me they look beautiful. But nonetheless, I was hanging up signs, and I saw Miguel Nunez playing catch. It was the first time I'd seen him, and I was thinking about the fact that it had been a year off in baseball, as he'll miss just a hair down low. I liked that pitch, but nonetheless, the count 2-2. I was watching him play catch, and the first thing I thought to myself is there is some real zip on that fastball, and B, sometimes when you watch a guy throw, you just know that he knows how to throw a baseball, and obviously he does, considering his 8 years, now 9 in professional baseball. But when you saw the ball coming out of his hands, you just knew he was going to have a special and live arm as he runs the count full. The ball just zips right off the tips of the fingers. As Nunez takes a peek over to first. Comes set at the belt. And this pitch drilled the left field, but well foul. That ball had 400 feet ridden all over it. But it doesn't matter to Nunez. It's just a long strike. Nunez takes a deep breath on the backside of the mound and now has a double play ball brewing in his glove out on the mound. At least so he hopes. Probably keep it low here and look for something on the ground. Runner goes on the pitch, swung through, throws it down, and he's going to be out. Strike him out, throw him out, says Charlie Valerio, and Miguel Nunez gets out of a one-out jam. What a throw by Charlie Valerio. He's putting on an absolute show here in Southern Maryland. It's not too late to come out and see it. Free admission for this spring training game. We'll be right back on the other end of this break on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. Welcome back inside Southern Maryland, the home of the Blue Crabs. On the home of the Blue Crabs, this Blue Crabs broadcast network, as John Griffin steps up into the batter's box. Last time he was up, I was talking a little bit about how many home runs the Blue Crabs have been hitting, and just about on cue, John Griffin sent one into the atmosphere. What I call an atmosphere blaster, as ball one will catch the inside corner for ball number one. First at bat John Griffin ever had here at Regency Furniture Stadium, as the 1-0 pitch will miss outside. If you look way out into center field, you're going to see a sign that says just about near hit it big, and between that and the sign that says sports clips. And John Griffin took the first pitch he ever saw in Regency Furniture Stadium as the count goes to 2-1. He swings through a fastball. He took the first pitch he ever saw in this stadium and hit it in between those two signs. It was an absolute moonshot. It was not a question, the farthest ball I've ever seen hit here at Regency Furniture Stadium, as he sends a sharp line drive off to the shortstop, but it's gloved for out number one. It's going to bring up Tony Thomas. We talked about Thomas has got a lot of clutch in his bat. He's got a lot of pop in his bat, as he comes out with the yellow and red Maryland flag Blue Crabs logo. That's a newcomer for the 2019 season. And he matches that with the red sleeves. I love the look as the count goes to 1-0. Thomas with a couple of swings to keep his wrists loose, and now here comes the pitcher who rocks back, fires, and Thomas thinks about biting at it, but instead he thinks better of it. 2-0 goes the count. A beautiful day here in Southern Maryland, a beautiful day for baseball. If you ask me, any day is a beautiful day for baseball, but nonetheless, today would be an ideal day. Not too hot, not too cold, as he'll swing through a pitch. It's going to be foul tipped, hit off the catcher's glove, and 2-1 the count. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. There's not really too much of a breeze, but enough that it keeps you a little bit cold, as the count runs to 3-1. It's not humid. It's just a perfect day for baseball. Now, a perfect day for baseball is the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, if you ask me, as the count 3-1 to Tony Thomas. Me being from Iowa, I'm going to be a little bit more accustomed to the colder weather, as drawing a walk on 5 pitches is Tony Thomas. Now, if you ask somebody from, let's say, Louisiana or somewhere near an ocean, closer to an ocean, or even somebody from Maryland, if this is a perfect day, they may say a little bit cold for my liking, but I say it's a perfect day for baseball. As Matt Dean steps up into the box. He's 0 for 1 on the day with a strikeout. 0 for 1 on the game, I should clarify. He sees the first pitch, catch the outside corner. Nice pitch there. Whenever I used to pitch back in my day, and I don't think I'd ever take pitching advice from me because that's why I'm here and they're there, but he did what I used to like to do, is he likes pushing the low and outside corner, because I personally, as a pickoff move over to first as the cat and mouse game begins early, I personally think that there is nearly nothing you can do with a low and outside fastball. If it's located correctly, maybe a little bit, maybe a ball outside home plate, as a ball bounces in the dirt, catcher doesn't know where it is, thinks about rounding second does Tony Thomas, and he'll get to second. That's 2 free passes that get him into scoring position, first on the walk and then on the pass ball.